All right, perfect. Okay, so I'm just going to spend some time taking you through the theory, making sure you understand what Eunice is expecting you to cover in terms of the content that you've been provided with. I saw the textbook that you're using for this module, and the textbook's actually quite good because it basically covers all of those important sections that the actual study guide speaks to as well. So just some advice, I suggest you probably look at the textbook for more practical examples that you could follow, especially when it comes to using Excel. I will demonstrate some of it as we go through the content. But remember, always be guided by the study guide. All right, so you're doing applied financial management. If we look at the actual contents for the first 3 modules, okay, this week we're covering 3 modules, then we'll cover 2 and 2. And if you do have any questions or past papers or assignment questions that you want to review or go over, obviously when we cover 2 units instead of 3, we'll probably have a little bit more time to go and look at questions or past papers. So feel free to start looking at them in the meantime. And as you start preparing for your assessments, you can maybe plan to bring some of those to our sessions and we can discuss them. Do you have a set date for your exams yet? Obviously your assignments and stuff will be submitted before a deadline, but in terms of the exam, how is this module being tested? Is it going to be tested online like an assignment, or will it be like an exam? I'm just curious to know how they're going to be examining this because it's very practical. So I just want to ask.
Yes, so this is basically like a continuous assessment.
I see.
There isn't one big exam.
Okay.
So I think there's 5 assessments, and 3 of the 5 are multiple choice assessments. And then there's 2 which are written assessments.
All right, nice. So yeah, that gives you quite a nice scope in terms of performing well. It's good that they are mixing it up, so you've got a variety of assessments. They're not only testing practical, but some theory as well. Okay, that's good to know. All right, so Learning Unit 1 is very basic, Introduction to Excel. Before we start going through the content, I just want to ask, what is your relationship with Excel and Microsoft products? How experienced are you when it comes to working with Excel? Have you worked with it before at all? Is it part of maybe your role or the job that you do? Is this unfamiliar territory, or is this something that you are a little bit familiar with? Where are you on terms of scale? 1 being I really don't know anything, and then 10 being a super Excel expert.
I think I'm around 5.
Okay, that's actually quite good.
Excel, but not very advanced.
All right, perfect. Okay, that's good to know. So it's always nice to know where you fit in terms of knowledge and skill when it comes to using something like this, because I think Learning Unit 1 then, if you're sitting on a 5 in terms of knowledge, then I don't think you'll find Learning Unit 1 difficult at all, because it's purely covering basics. All right, so the first bit is just explaining what a spreadsheet is, okay, navigating Excel. So I'm going to shrink that. On the left here, I've opened up Microsoft Excel. Obviously, what you're looking at here is a workbook, and every workbook has different sheets. So you can open up multiple sheets if you prefer, and you can link things. So when I looked at that assignment, I did see they're wanting you to use data from a real world source, and then they're asking you to build an Excel spreadsheet where you're going to have to obviously do ratio calculations and so on. So what you could do is, if you're doing, let's say, financial statements on a separate sheet here at the bottom, this is obviously sheet 1. It's a brand new workbook. Because I'm looking at Microsoft Excel, I can have as many sheets as I want to, obviously up to the limit that Excel has on the actual application, but you can have multiple sheets, and you can link multiple sheets, and you can even have workings in one sheet that will update another sheet. So it's very useful, and that's what they're referring to here. So lesson 1, talking about spreadsheet basics and navigating Excel. It's purely what you're actually going to be using when you log into Microsoft Excel and what you have available on screen. They're just mentioning these worksheets that you can obviously use, and you can create as many of them as you want. And as I said, each worksheet can have a different focus. One could be the statement of comprehensive income, maybe. The next could be a statement of financial position. Then you could have analysis where you've got separate worksheets that all link to the main, let's say, data that you've actually got or that you've imported into the document. And then you can use that imported data to automate the calculations in terms of liquidity, profitability, and so on. Right, so those are just some of the things that you could consider, obviously with the assignment in mind. So that's the first thing that I just want to spend a little bit of time on, the use of these worksheets. They can be linked, those formulas can be across the actual application in terms of the book, the workbook. So in Excel, because everything is done in a workbook, all the sheets are connected, basically. All right, next page. Just some discussions. If you have any questions about it, please feel free to stop me and then we can discuss it. Maybe just one thing important here, the cells. Obviously, each little block that you're looking at here is a separate cell, and all of those cells can have various operations or calculations, or you can have data. So each cell is separate, and like a sheet, obviously a cell is its own little piece of data or information. So on Excel, if you have like a table of data, maybe you could have rows and columns. And if you're looking at tracking, let's say products, you could have product A, B, C, D on the top. And then at the bottom, or well, when I say bottom, down the side, the rows could maybe be like sizes, small, medium, or large, depending on what item of like clothing you're possibly selling. So it's very powerful. You can do like data analysis, and you can incorporate a lot of big data into a spreadsheet, and then with that data you can manipulate the data, you can do calculations, you can draw up graphs for presentations and so on. So Excel is a really powerful tool when it comes to number crunching. Okay, obviously Microsoft is a very broad spectrum of products. You've got I mean, Word is the most common one probably in terms of documents. Then Excel would probably be the second most common in terms of number crunching. Okay, then you do get others like presentations and PowerPoint and so on. But yeah, the focus in this module, based on the context, is obviously looking at financial management. So you're going to be doing calculations involving these spreadsheets when you're incorporating data that you've built into the spreadsheet that'll then filter through to other sheets that you might have that could calculate or draw up certain things. Okay, whether it's graphs or financial statements or formulas, it doesn't matter. It can all be built on Excel. All right, so they've given you a little picture here, very similar to what we've seen live. Okay, and I'm sure if you log into your own Microsoft account, you'll see very, very similar settings. Okay, so they're just describing the different components on Excel. Okay, but I'm not going to spend too much time on this unless you want me to. For someone that has a level 5 knowledge or working knowledge of Excel, I don't think this is a problem, right?
Yes.
Okay, you kind of know where to find what. And if you don't, it's quite simple. You've got these categories at the top. If you search, if you just click each of them, you'll get other settings. And because this is a live online version of Microsoft, you can even click in the search bar, and that often links you to helpful videos or Microsoft like tutorials, or even just like a piece of writing that describes how to do something. All right, so you can always use Google, you can use the inbuilt search for help, okay, or you can just navigate and literally just find what you need. It's quite easy to navigate, and they've tried to highlight that here, just showing the different formatting options and so on. Okay, next bit, yes. They're just describing the tabs. We just spoke about that. This formula bar here, there's a FX here. This is a formula bar which allows you to use inbuilt functions in Excel that can help you calculate certain things. So when I looked at that assignment, there's a section asking you to do like liquidity analysis or solvency or profitability, whatever it is. A lot of the time you can use the inbuilt functions. Sometimes you can't, you've got to build your own functions, but this formula bar here allows you to open and use those inbuilt Microsoft Excel formulas that can assist you in doing calculations and creating a live working spreadsheet that automatically updates itself with the data that you incorporate. So that formula bar is quite important. The rest is basically what we saw on that figure, that figure 1.1. There's it there. Okay, navigation, quite simple. Obviously, you can navigate to any part of the spreadsheet. Okay, you can format the numbers, you can format the text, you can format everything very similar to Word. Okay, you can highlight, you can include colors. And this is quite nice to do, especially if you're presenting this to a marker. I would suggest as a tip, maybe once you've done all the basics, then try bring in the pretty things, the nice things, the colors, the diagrams, the graphs, and all of that. So make sure you meet all the requirements in the assignment, and then afterwards come bold, italics, add color, add maybe even images and so on. You can do a lot to make it look nicer, just to maybe impress the examiner when you submit. Okay, because remember, UNISA's getting probably hundreds or thousands of these assignments. Hopefully, if you've done yours well, and when somebody opens it up and they actually get like blown away by the quality of the submission, I think that does help you as a student in terms of getting better marks. Because I mean, if they're opening up 100 or 1,000 different assignments and they're all just black and white text, okay, with nothing else really, it gets a little bit boring for the marker or the examiner, and I don't think they'll be as, what's the word, as excited maybe to mark your assessment. So just a tip, especially with such a big institution like UNISA, try and make your assignment stand out somehow, whether it's a picture, whether it's a diagram or something, but or just format it nicely, make it look good. The better it looks, I think that will help you in terms of getting better marks. All right, so that's just a note there about the formatting. And then you've got names. Obviously, each cell can be referenced. So when you're doing calculations, for example, the cursor's here on A1. Obviously, I can reference the cell A1 in any of the sheets. Okay, even if it's a separate sheet, I can still reference A1 from sheet 1, and I can even rename the sheet. So every single little cell here and every sheet is connected, and you can define these names. Okay, you can actually select specific names, and you can format specific sheets, and you can actually reference very, very specific line items wherever you're inserting them. So the user defined names, okay, obviously everything can be changed, okay, renamed, and you can obviously identify different things in your actual document based on these references. Okay, there's a cell reference, and you can use that when navigating through large amounts of data. All right, formatting alignment, very obvious. Obviously, we've got text orientation. You can wrap text, you can align text on the left, the right, or the center. Very basic formatting. And you can do the same thing for numbers. You can obviously round off the decimals. You can include rands and cents in terms of currency. There's a lot in terms of formatting. Borders and shading, that's what I'm referring to in terms of your financial statements. Maybe add a border or shade certain columns. Okay, but we can look at that when we start with some practical stuff. All right, lesson 2, also pretty basic, but this is the first time now where they're actually referring to this, the use of formulas. And they're asking you to consider Microsoft Excel's built-in functions when creating certain graphs. Okay, so formulas can be entered into Microsoft Excel, and you can use either this, the formula button, insert function. Okay, it'll open up like a menu and you can navigate through the menu. Or if you know those equations, or if you know what you want to do, for example, adding, okay, or subtracting, you could try build a function using normal keys on the actual keyboard, okay, and inserting functions. Okay, but for someone who is maybe a little bit unfamiliar with the amount of formulas they have, okay, UNISA did give you some examples a bit later, but before we get there, just remember that a formula requires certain formatting. Okay, so a formula needs formatting. When I say formatting, we're referring to these operations. Okay, so in Excel, obviously plus and minus is obvious, but multiplication and division are a bit different. Okay, it looks a bit different to the one that you would see on like a calculator. All right, so it's a star, the asterisk is multiplication, and then the the slash, okay, that divide sign would represent division. Right, and then parenthesis, in other words, brackets in the order of operations. Normal maths will apply here. Obviously, Excel follows all the basic mathematical rules and principles. So if you do include brackets, okay, parenthesis refers to brackets. If you're inserting brackets, you also need to consider the formatting. Same thing when you use powers or exponents. Sometimes you might come across an equation, especially in finance. You've done financial modules before, so you know, for example, with something like time value of money, you've got a formula for future value, present value, and so on. And in those equations, you do have an exponent. The n, you can take money forwards in time or backwards in time. In Excel, in order to insert exponents, you need to use this. Okay, the little, they call it a caret, or in Afrikaans, I think they refer to like a kappietjie, that little hat, that hat thing that you use. So these are all the different, like, basic, let's call them mathematical formats that we need to stick to when we come to the actual Excel equations and how we build up those formulas. All right, so yeah, basic maths apply, but you just need to remember that on Excel, they use very, very specific, let's call them buttons or keys on the keyboard to represent mathematical operations. Okay, everything all right so far?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to start building some functions. Okay, this is the section in the textbook or the study guide where they're referring to Excel and using either the inbuilt functions, or you can insert your own functions in the actual formula bar when building up an equation, okay, or a mathematical model to do something, okay, to calculate something. Right, so all those liquidity ratios, the textbook actually has a whole chapter on it. Let me find it here. Chapter 3, Financial Statement Analysis Tools. Okay, there's a section on liquidity ratios on page 70. Then they take you through the different ones. Then there's efficiency ratios on page 73. And then there's other sections. Profitability starts on page 82. Yeah, so as I said, the textbook is a much, much, much better resource compared to the UNISA study guide. The study guide is just guiding you in terms of what you should be looking at and focusing on in the textbook. All right, so just a little bit of background here regarding the functions and the formulas. Okay, we'll do some just now later as an example. Okay, we can create graphics. Right, Excel has the ability to draw up charts and graphs for us, and there are hundreds of different templates that is inbuilt in Excel that will actually help you generate those charts without much effort. In other words, you don't have to sit and draw these graphs. As long as you have the data and you've referenced the data correctly, Excel can actually create the charts for you. Okay, so in Microsoft Excel, a chart is referring to a graph. Okay, an actual visual representation of the numerical or the mathematical data, okay, that is inbuilt in Excel. Okay, so when you do an example, we can look at that and we can draw up a graph as part of this exercise. You can create graphics in the form of a chart, which is a graph, and you can select what type of graph you want. There are many, many different types, and you can even format and change the color, the fonts, where you want the different, like if you have a key, for example, and you have multiple, let's say, bars on the bar graph, you can customize it really nicely using all the formatting options. Okay, so that we'll see. We can do an example just to show you what that looks like. And I think that takes us to the end of the first one. Yes. Okay, so that was the first bit. Purely introduction regarding Excel, what the actual application does in terms of its use, and then obviously we're going to jump into more practical examples, and then I'll come back and do some of these formulas, but in an actual practical example. So for example, financial statements, we can draw up some financial statements, and then we can actually bring in graphs if we need to show certain things and do calculations. Okay. All right, any questions so far?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. I did look at the textbook a bit just to see if there's anything that could maybe help you. In chapter 1, we basically looked at content from Learning Unit 1. This is quite useful here. The formulas, they spoke about the same thing, but where was it? Yeah, there's a list of user-defined functions, and there's inserting a functions. Those are quite nice. And then obviously the textbook gives you some images of the charts on page 26 and that. So from page 20 onward, that was quite nice. They said reference these different chapters, and let's just scroll a bit further down. Yeah, that's chapter 1. Okay, they showed you some examples there, which I find quite useful, especially for someone who maybe doesn't have as much working knowledge of Excel. For example, there's like a mean calculation here. They even show you a few like examples of a statement of profit and loss and other comprehensive income. On page 21, okay, you've obviously got the textbook, so maybe if you just navigate with me off screen, so I'm not going to share this on screen, but if you look at the textbook, page 21, there's a little analysis there of Microsoft growth rates, and you can see they've got sales, net income, net profit, sales. I don't know if you can see that. It's on page 21 of the actual textbook.
Page 21.
Yeah. Page 21. It's in chapter 1. Yeah, there's an example there. Yeah, I'm just showing you that because it's a template. And that's something that you could use when doing this section, the next one, drawing up financial statements. All right, and then if you scroll a few pages down, page 27, you can see a little chart there. Exhibit 1.6, a standalone chart, Microsoft sales versus net income.
Yes.
You see that? Okay, yeah. So I'm just using the textbook just to show you what's possible on Excel, and all of this can be customized and changed. Okay, so you have an almost unlimited amount of, let's call it flexibility or creativity or imagination, and you can literally take data, raw numbers, and you can process those numbers into either nice, pretty financial statements, formatted correctly with totals and automated calculation. And you could even create these nice, pretty graphs or charts that actually display data, numerical data or information. Okay, yeah, so go through the textbook. There's a lot more examples that you could obviously use just as a guide, just in terms of formatting to see what some of these things look like. There's even like a line graph here on page 30. Okay. All right, so refer to that in your own time when you've got more time. Just go have a look at that chapter. It is really nice to see some of the capability, the formatting that's used in Excel. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay, learning unit 2, financial statement analysis. Okay, so the textbook has 2 chapters on this. Chapter 2 talks about the basic financial statements, which you should know from your accounting modules that you've covered previously. I just want to ask you, how many accounting modules did you do at UNISA?
I did 4.
Okay, which ones did you do? ACC or what is it? No, FAC.
Yes, FAC.
Which ones did you do?
I think 1501 and 1502.
Okay, yeah, nice. Those are the basic modules. Yeah, that's the introduction ones.
And then I did 2601, I think, and 2602. Okay,
good. Yeah, so I think your working knowledge of accounting is quite good. I don't think you'll struggle too much when it comes to drawing up a set of financial statements. Okay, so because you want to ask a few questions about that assignment, just in terms of guidance, let me just put it up here quickly. Okay, so this is what you are required to do. Okay, work through the chapters. Obviously, we're going through, well, chapters 1 to 4 speak to learning units 1, 2, and 3 in the actual study guide. And then you have to look at Outsurance Group Limited. Okay, they want you to take data from a specific website. Okay, so data is freely available, especially for public listed companies. All right, the JSE is obviously a Johannesburg Stock Exchange. It's a market where public companies raise capital. So you can find public information or data on any company that you want to on the World Wide Web. Okay, on the internet, if you Google search, you will find enough information about these. Okay, so obviously they want you to do this for OutSurance. They want you to go to Yahoo. They want you to download, okay, data, information. All right, so you can do this, and this is quite easy to do. Let me just find my, let me just open up another window. Okay, so I'm not going to do that assignment because that wouldn't be ethical, but I'm just going to search for a different one. So let's just say we are looking, okay, give me a different company, a public company in South Africa, anyone. Which one do you want to look at? Just off the top of your head, a company that you like.
Is Pick n Pay a public company?
Yes, it is. Okay, Pick n Pay, shame. They actually haven't been doing so well. They want to do a rights offer, and their share price has actually come down quite significantly. But if you go Google search Pick n Pay annual report, all right, so obviously you'd be doing this with the one that you've been given, and then you want data.
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously you'd be doing this for yours. Let's see if we've got the most recent one. Yeah, here we go. Okay, here's the integrated report for Pick n Pay for the last 52 weeks, which is the full financial year. Okay, this comes from the Pick n Pay website. And if you open up the document, it's going to show you the integrated report for the 2023 year. So remember, accounting is historical information. Okay, you have to live through the financial year and then you create financial statements. All right, so I'm just going to Control F and search for the profit and loss. And let's see if we can get to the statement, or let's just navigate with this rather. It's probably easier. Okay, we need to find the financials. And this is where you get your data. So you want something that looks like this. Okay, now this is remuneration. Not quite. Okay, this is probably it. Yeah, here we go. Consolidated statement of comprehensive income. Okay, but this is not, this is a summary. We need the actual specifics. So we need to go to the actual statements. Let's find it here. Analysis. No, that's the shareholder information. Maybe I've gone past it. Let's see. Okay, let's go back to the contents page. Is there no contents page for Pick n Pay? Let's go here. Okay, let's go here. Additional information. Summary of our financial results. There we go. That's better. Analysis of ordinary shareholders. Okay, yeah. Summary of financial results. Page 123. That's better. Okay, here are the statements, right? So you've seen this before in your ACC modules. There's the cash flow statement. Okay, you might have done that in one of your modules. I think
Yes.
FAC 1601 does financial cash flows, indirect and direct. Okay, here we go. This is what we want. Okay, group statement of financial position, group pro forma earnings performance, okay, in terms of turnover. So here you've got your sales and cost of sales and all of that. Okay, so obviously they've given you OutSurance to analyze, but I'm just going to use this as an example. Okay, if you're looking at this, it doesn't matter what statement you're looking at. Okay, let's say I'm looking at this statement. Obviously, all of this data, okay, these numbers, I need to bring into my spreadsheet. I need to actually build a spreadsheet for it. Okay, so if I'm looking at Pick n Pay. All right. Again, this is just guidance or tips.
Yes.
All right. So what I would do if I was you, if I was looking at Pick n Pay as a company, on one of my sheets here, I would rename it and call this maybe input data. Okay. all right, because I want data that's going to be used later on for drawing up a financial statement, right? So for example, we've got a whole bunch of different assets here, okay? But remember, this is the statement of financial position. It is there, you've got it, okay? Remember, this is the Pick and Pay annual financial report, okay? Pick and Pay will have built a separate Microsoft spreadsheet, or they would have used an accounting software package to create these financials. Remember, in this module, in FIN3704, UNISA is asking you to show them your skills when it comes to practically using your Excel, okay, application to generate or create these spreadsheets or these documents. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so you want to show them what you're capable of doing on Excel based on the criteria in the actual assignment. So the assignment said, use the data, okay, from this website that they've given you together with the reports for 2022, 2021, and 2022, okay, of this company OUTsurance. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this data that I have collected. So go to the website, download those financials, and then go and create, okay, a sheet where you've basically imported the information.
Okay.
All right, but obviously information that's actually necessary or that's useful that you're going to now create. So if I was looking at Pick and Pay, remember my report, my group financial statement, I want this report to look the same as this at the end of the task. In other words, when I have a separate sheet, okay, one sheet is going to be the statement of comprehensive income, or let's use statement of profit and loss and other comprehensive income. Okay, I'm just going to abbreviate that. Statement of profit and loss and other comprehensive income. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, and then on another sheet, I'm going to have the statement of financial position. Okay, and I can do multiple sheets with different financial statements. Remember, use what they've asked you to do. So question 1 says, following the instructions of chapter 2, in building the following, I only need 3 things. I need the income statement, the balance sheet, and the cash flow. So if I'm building this on Excel, then let's use what they want you to use. You can call it income statement. Let's write the whole word actually. Okay, and then balance sheet, and then cash flow statements. Okay, so you've got those, and remember this is going to be built based on the data. So I would just go to what they want me to do. So, okay, group financial statement, this is for Pick and Pay. Okay, then I'm going to list all of the input or inputs, okay, from the actual diagram or spreadsheet. So I'm going to maybe put a heading here, non-current assets. I don't even have to do that. Okay, I could have left that out because remember, in your actual balance sheet, so in your balance sheet, you'll have statement of financial position for Pick and Pay for the year ended, what was the year end? I forget now. I think it was March. I think we read March. Or well, let's just say year ended March. Was it March? Oh, it was Feb, 26 Feb. Okay, there we go. 26 Feb, 2023. All right, so obviously, remember, what sheet am I in? I'm in the balance sheet. And if I want to make it nice and pretty, I can change the color. We can make the balance sheet green. We can make the income statement blue. We can make the cash flow statement yellow. Okay, and then we can make the input data maybe red. Okay, whatever it is. Right, and then in the balance sheet, so this tab in the balance sheet, Okay, this is my formatting. Remember, my final answer should be the same as the one that we have here in terms of formatting, because you're covering all the data that you've got. So then I'm going to list all of this. So I'm going to copy this.
Okay.
Okay, it pasted it, but it pasted it as one line. Oh, we might have to paste each one separately. So, okay, so I'm just going to do a few. Let me just so you get the idea. Okay, property, plant, and equipment, wrong place. Input data. Okay, intangibles, right of use assets. Okay, let's just put 3 of them, just for the sake of time. Okay, and then non-current assets. Maybe you could put a heading for that. All right, you might not even do that. Remember, this is input data. Input data, you might not even have as much, let's call it detail. Okay, you might not need to show this, but again, it's up to you. Okay, you can decide how you want to build your spreadsheets. Okay, I'm just guiding you in terms of what I think would be worthwhile to see, okay, in an actual spreadsheet to show them your ability to create these things, right? Because remember, you've got a spreadsheet with all of these things, and then you'll have an amount. So obviously I'm in 2023, so my amounts need to go in a separate column. Okay, these amounts need to be provided here, okay, in my actual input data. And then when I'm actually building up the statements, I'm then going to have to format it based on the Microsoft, okay, formulas. Okay, I don't know if that's a numerical value. Let me just check. Oh yeah, it's a general. It says general. Okay, let's turn this into a number. Okay, let's make these numbers. All right, hopefully we can add them. Let's just check. If I sum up, right, just remember, if the data is not in the right format, you're not going to be able to add these things. Yeah, okay, so it's not a number. We need to actually type a number, 1424.4. Okay, I see the problem here looks like it's the comma. So let's just change these, Control F. Okay, I want to replace all the full stops with a comma. Replace all. Okay. All right, there we go. Now they're all numbers.
Yes.
Okay, so now I can sum up these numbers. Is it working? Ah, it's working. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so remember, this is your input data. Obviously, your input is the research, the data. You're importing the information, but inverted commas, this is the raw data. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so basically go to Outsurance or go to Pick and Pay, whoever you're analyzing, and literally just pull out all the key names of the accounts, type in the information, all the data. You saw how I did it. I just select, I Control C, Control C is to copy, okay? Select, Control C, paste, okay? Then I go back to my data, I click this one, Control C, go here, paste. Okay, this is obviously a general format. I want a number, so I can change the cell referencing to a number, but it won't change the full stop. The full stop is actually a text input and it's not a numerical input. So if I'm using Microsoft Excel, you need to be specific, you need to follow the formatting. Okay, remember the study guide spoke about formatting, hey?
Yes.
Yeah, so you just have to make sure you're using the right formatting. So then I'm going to Control F. I can replace all of the full stops with a comma, and I can replace it, and now it's going to become a number. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, and that's what I would do. I would literally just take what I've got from the data, from the information, and I would literally copy paste it through to my Excel spreadsheet, because remember, I'm showing the examiner, the marker, that I'm capable of using this tool, Microsoft Excel, to take all this data, raw data, from these spreadsheets. Okay, so you can analyze any company. I'm just looking at Pick and Pay here, but it could be Outsurance or other, and you just input the data into this input spreadsheet. And then once you've got the inputs, you can do whatever you want with it in other sheets. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so in the balance sheet, in this statement, I'm only going to have a heading. I'll have some nice pretty formatting, so maybe assets here. Okay, then non-current and current. Let me just copy that so we've got the headings there, nice headings. Okay, and then I would just reference. So this is how you reference. Under non-current assets, I am just going to show the reference. So I'm going to say equals, go to my input data sheet. Where's one of my non-current assets? And then press enter. Here's another one. Equals, go to the data. There's another one. Equals, go to the data. There's another one. Equals, go to the data. There's another one. So you could have a whole list of these things and you're all referencing it. Okay, and then the same thing, because I'm referencing something from this data here, what column is this? This is B. Okay, C, D, E, F. Okay, so I could do the same thing here in column F. If I copy paste this and I paste it in column F, it's going to reference the same figures. Why? Because in my input data, column B has the name of the account, column F has the numerical value. So in my balance sheet, as long as I have the same columns being referenced, it'll pull through the same data. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's just a matter of copying and pasting the data, but this is the hard part. The hard part is getting all of this raw data into a spreadsheet that you can then reference these separate amounts. Make sense?
Okay.
Okay, and then I would do the same thing for current assets. I would say equals, go to the input data, enter. Okay, more current assets, go to the input data, enter. And then because I've input that and I'm using the same column, copy paste, all right, I'm getting those figures. There's the input data. Right, just something to point out.
So it's basically like copy and paste everything from
Not everything.
the statement.
No, because you need to show calculations. Remember, this is data. Now I need to do a calculation. Oh, remember the formatting? We can add more decimals here.
Okay.
Increase decimal. Okay, or decrease decimal. There we go. Okay. Once I've done all of that, I am not going to copy paste these line items. Do you see that?
Yes.
Total, current assets, non-current. I am not. Those lines need to use Excel formulas. Okay, total assets. Okay, here I am going to use a sum function. Okay, if you don't know how to add, you could click here and you could click this button. It'll open up search. Okay, and then you can search for something that you want. Obviously, sum is a very popular operation that's used often. Okay, so sum is here, average is here, count, max, min, all of the stuff is here. Do you see that?
Yes.
Yeah, and there's a lot more. These aren't the only ones. This is just the ones that I've used recently. If you click here, you can go to all. You could do financial calculations, date, time, trigonometry, mathematics, stats. You can look up and you can reference. There's a whole Excel's very, very, very powerful. Okay, so you can use any of these inbuilt functions. Obviously, the one that we want is the sum function. Okay. And then it's going to tell me how to use it. Sum up, add up all the numbers in the range of cells, what number, what number. So I'm just going to move this aside. So I'm going to click, I want it to sum up here, and I want to sum up there. Does it make sense?
Yes.
And I'm going to say insert. Okay, and it's going to put in the sum for all of those things.
Okay.
Okay. All right, you can even see here at the bottom, average, there's the average for those numbers. I've got 4 inputs, okay, and the total sum is 23461,70, right, which is the same value there for the non-current assets. But obviously this is different to the one that's in their financials because I haven't used all of the data. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Okay, but when you're doing this, the data goes on one sheet, put all the data there, and then format it nicely on this sheet. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Okay, and you would do the same thing here, sum up function. See, I'm not using the inbuilt function because I know what the function is, and I'm just going to select my data and then close the bracket. See, there I've written it, I've typed it. Equals sum, open brackets, show the selection from cell F13 to F14, close brackets, enter, gives me the answer for those two added together.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yes.
Okay, because have a look at this. Once you've built a spreadsheet like this where you've got input data, then I don't have to always repeat what I've done. What I could do is I could copy paste this, copy this, where's the copy button? Copy here, copy, no. All right, insert, delete, rename, duplicate, there we go. Okay, right, I've duplicated the sheet. You see they're the same.
Yes.
This one I can call input data for Pick n Pay. Okay, this one I can call input data for, I don't know, Outsurance. Okay, all right, so there, input data for Pick n Pay, input data for Outsurance, doesn't matter. So if I've got a spreadsheet like this, let's assume Outsurance's data is a little bit different. Okay, you could change the data. For example, Pick n Pay. Let's assume this was for, I don't know, 2023, okay, 2022, okay, 2020, 2021. Oops, 2021. Okay, and then because you've done this already, if you've got a different year, okay, you can just put in a different number and then it'll update. So if 2023, let's assume this is different, and if I change this one figure, property, plant, and equipment, let's make it 10,000. Okay, if it's 10,000, go to my spreadsheet, have a look. See, it's updated automatically.
Okay.
You see that? Because these spreadsheets are automatically linked. So these pretty spreadsheets on the right here, I just need more space here. These pretty spreadsheets here on the right are going to obviously be used for a specific data sheet perhaps. Or you can use one data sheet and then you can reference it in all of these separate sheets. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's really up to you. The red is what I'm going to change. These ones are going to be referenced straight from the data and it'll automatically update. So if I go to this sheet and if I change anything, maybe I can delete this. Okay, maybe next year, 2024, then I can just copy paste the new figures. I don't know, 2,000, 3,000, or 30,000, 5,000, 20,000, whatever it is. Okay, that's the next year. So every year I can just update the sheet, or I can copy paste the sheet and make a new one. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And then I will always have an updated version of it. See, look how quick that changed.
Yes. Okay.
All right, I'm just showing you things that you could consider for when you draw up your own spreadsheet. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so I just want to highlight that point just so that you have an idea of what they're most likely asking you for here in these two things. Okay.
Okay.
Right, how many marks is this out of? This is out of 40. Okay, so 2, 4, 6. This is 4 plus 6. That's 10. That's 16. 16 plus 6 is 22. 22 plus, that's 34 plus 6 is 40. Okay, that's fine. Right, I don't even know if you need to go into as much detail here. I mean, wow, 2 marks for a whole spreadsheet. Wow.
That's why I was so confused because I couldn't understand why it was 2 marks. Like I didn't understand what was required of me.
Yeah, it seems a bit weird. I mean, 40 marks is so little for so much work, and they want you to do 3 years. That seems a little unfair, but I don't know. Sure. Yeah, I don't know what to say about the mark allocation, but I don't know. It is what it is. Maybe what you could do is maybe summarize it. So maybe don't go this level. Okay, maybe summarize it a bit. And maybe just take the mainline items. I don't know. It's up to you. Hey, sure.
Okay.
But if you've got the time, if you have the time, it takes long to do in terms of the formatting. This bit, okay, getting the data. All right. Once you've got the data, then it's pretty easy because then these things you just build based on the data.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Same thing with assets. Assets. If I'm going to add total assets, I'm going to take this cell and I'm going to add that cell. Okay, notice I don't have to use a sum function. A sum function is going to add up multiple numbers that are in a list. Okay, if I'm adding numbers from different parts of the actual spreadsheet, then I need to do this. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, you're just referencing cells. Okay, and this is my nice total assets of, amount. Okay, and that obviously will be this figure plus that figure, giving me that figure. Okay, so in these working sheets, those are the sheets that I'm going to be using those Excel formulas.
Okay.
Okay. Is that all right?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. All right, so financial statement analysis, let's just see what we have here. Okay, so financial statements, we spoke about those basic financial statements. In your actual UNISA study guide, they are telling you how to build those financial statements, income statement, balance sheet, okay? All it is, it's structure. You're going to be creating these templates, okay, in Excel. Okay, all right, there's a heading. All right, and then I'm going to go down the list, sales, less cost of sales, gross profits. Okay, I'm just using a very basic format just to explain it. Maybe other income, rent income, interest income. Okay, other expenses, rent expenses, stationery, water and electricity. Okay, and I could have more, and then I could have profit before interest expense or financing costs. Then I can have less financing costs or interest, then profit before tax, and then less tax, and then net profit or profit for the year. Okay, so yeah, this is a very, very, very basic thing. Just to show you some formatting, here are those borders. Okay, I can put a nice pretty border around that one. Okay, all right, gross profit, I might want to put a little sub category or a little sub calculation. Maybe I'll use this one. Okay, and then for other expenses, maybe I want to highlight that in gray. Other expenses, or maybe a different color even, we can use maybe blue or green, and then other expenses, we could list it in like a reddish color, okay? And then profit before tax, this one I might need a little, like a separate working there or a separate working there, okay? I might want a little column here to show the working, and then I'll need a column there to show the final value. So the sales could be, I'm just going to put some random numbers here. Remember, cost of sales is a negative. So I'm going to put minus 30,000, no, 3,000. Okay, remember, because this is Excel, okay, we have to show a minus there. But because this is accounting, you want to show that in brackets. So we can click this and we can change the formatting. Here, number formatting, accounting, where's it? Currency, I think it was. There's a section here where we can show it in brackets. No, that's the currency. Or they might have taken that feature away. I don't see it here. Okay, yeah, looks like this might be limited. I think if you do have a paid for Microsoft subscription, then you will have more formatting options. I'm just using a personal account. I'm not using my work account because this is my private lesson, my own separate business. So yeah, I'm not using a paid for version of Microsoft Excel. But if you I'm sure you probably use Excel at your work. You'll have a paid for full Microsoft 360 account, and you'll have much more formatting features.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, so just be careful. You might have limitations on a free personal account, but yeah, there will be an option where you can show things in brackets or you can change the formatting. I see here, I can just show it as a minus, Okay, or I can show it in red. Maybe red's not a bad option. Maybe let's choose that one.
Yeah.
Okay, and let's make all of these currencies. Number formats, number, there, currencies, and we're going to put it all in rands. That's fine. And we want negative numbers looking in red. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so now it's looking nice and pretty. Okay, and then obviously I'm going to take this and I'm going to subtract. I actually need to add because it is a negative number. Right. Okay, do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, and notice if I make this bigger, let's make it 30,000. Okay, remember the formatting is there. This gross profit is now going to change to a negative. See, it becomes a red figure.
Yes.
You see that?
Yes.
Okay, so it's all basically formatting. You can play around with this. And then with these things, okay, remember we're using formulas. So if I'm going to put 4,000 there, 1,000 here, if I've got two other income line items, then I'm going to sum up all of these two. Sum up all of these two. Okay, and then you've got the 5. Right, you can change the formatting here as well. We can also make that a currency. Okay, you see what we're doing? Just make it looking nice and pretty.
Yes.
Okay, and then you do the same thing here, maybe 5,000 here, 400 here, or 4,000 or 400. Let's just make it 400, and then let's make it 10,000 there, whatever it is. Okay, same thing, equals, sum up, close brackets, open brackets, enter, then you've got a figure here. Okay, this figure is positive. Other expenses, we need to put these in as negatives actually. So minus, 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 okay, and we need to change the formatting here. We wanted it currency, negative numbers in red. Do we have it red or yeah, minus and red? Maybe we should have minus and red, hey? Let's do it that way. Okay, and then here, same thing, number formats, currency, minus and red, and then you can see both there. Okay, but it's up to you. You can decide how you want to show it. All right, but the important thing is that here, these line items need to be calculated. So I need gross profits plus other income, okay, minus other expenses gives me that figure.
Okay.
Okay, financing costs, maybe you could put an amount there. Let's put minus, I don't know, 1,000, 2,000. Okay, this one will be that figure plus that figure because it's a negative, right?
Yes.
Gives me that. Okay, when it comes to tax, if you're dealing with a company, so Pick n Pay is obviously a company, so is OutSurance. Tax is at 27%. Okay, it might not work perfectly because companies do have to follow tax laws, and sometimes there are other adjustments like deferred tax. I don't think you've covered that yet. That's more third year accounting, but yeah, deferred tax. Oh, I think I spotted wrong. Deferred tax. Okay, so yeah, so you'll see lots of more sophisticated tax adjustments in your actual financial statements for OutSurance or for Pick n Pay. So it won't always be 27%, and it's never always the case. But I'm just showing you, for example, if something is like simple to calculate, if it's a percentage, then I can use a formula. I can say this, okay, obviously it needs to be a negative, so negative because tax is obviously going to be subtracted. So negative J19, okay, multiply that by tax rate for corporates is 27%, so 0.27. Okay, enter. Then I've got my tax there. Do you see that?
Yeah.
And then I can just take this figure, add that figure, and then I've got my profit for the year.
Yes, okay.
Okay, so remember, I only have to do this once because this is my income statement. Okay, all of these line items here that I typed in and that I wrote in numbers for would have come from this, the Pick n Pay data. Does it make sense?
Yes.
I would have had the sales and cost of sales, and I would have listed it here with the input from the websites or annual reports. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so once the input is there, then it's easy to do any calculation. Okay, whether you're putting to, I'm just going to delete this one, we don't need it. Okay. We're just going to put all the input here for a particular company, the raw data. Okay. And then once we've got all the raw data, we're going to be using the data in these different sheets. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So that's what they're describing here in the study guide. Look, have a look at their example. All right. They're showing you an income statement in Excel using columns A, B, C, and then the different rows. You see that?
Yes.
Okay, see, they've even shown a little note there about the tax. Okay, this is only their example. Obviously, this example, okay, is purely a guideline in terms of what you could create in Excel. Okay, if you have enough time and you can create something that looks as where was it? Oh, it was here. Okay, if you can create something on Excel that looks identical or similar to this in terms of all the numbers, and it's built on Excel. So for example, this group financial statement, okay, for the financial position is my balance sheet in this spreadsheet. Okay, if I can replicate this from the annual report in Excel, that really shows I know how to use Excel in terms of formatting, in terms of the input and all of that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I know it might seem a little bit like 2 marks for all of that seems like, wow, all that effort for 2 marks. Yeah, but it'll probably blow the marker away in terms of like, wow, this student really went through a lot of effort to recreate these statements.
Okay.
Yeah, because remember, if you were working at Pick and Pay, if you were sitting in the finance department, okay, I used to work for a bank actually. I was an accountant at one point in my career, and they literally have spreadsheet after spreadsheet after spreadsheet, and all of these group financial statements come from different departments within the organization. Because remember, I don't know how big your company is, but you probably have like a central finance, and then all of that data goes to the central finance, and they're the ones that set up or create these group financial statements. So you might be, let's say you're an accountant, but you're working in one very, very specific department. Maybe you're in one little store. Let's say Pick and Pay has a store in Cape Town, okay? At the V&A waterfront, there's a little Pick and Pay there, and that one store obviously has sales, cost of sales, equipment, blah, blah, blah. All of that information gets sent to the Pick and Pay head office, and then the head office will build up these nice, pretty statements. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But if you had to go look at Pick and Pay will have a massive spreadsheet, and on they'll have like a spreadsheet for another spreadsheet, and like Pick and Pay could have one spreadsheet that's just looking at stores, and like they could have like all these separate tabs, store A, B, C, D, or maybe for a region or something like that. But it's just massive. It's big data. Okay.
Yes.
Right. What do you actually do, hey, Parosha? I don't actually know.
So at the moment, I was in the family business, and at the moment, I am a stay-at-home mom. I'm actually a single mom. So yeah, just focusing on that at the moment.
Yeah, no, it's good. I think kids grow up so quickly, so it's good to spend more time with them, especially when they're young. So if you have that opportunity, it's obviously nice to be more with family. So that's actually great. Yeah. So and also give you time to study as well.
Yes.
Nice. Okay, that's good. Awesome. So yeah, so I don't want to spend too much time on this page here. Let me go back to it because it's just formatting, but formatting in line with the amount of data that you've got. So if you put in more data, then you're obviously going to have a much more sophisticated template for your income statement or for your balance sheet, but that's based on you. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Is that all right? Are we good?
Yes.
Are we good with this bit?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
all right. Same thing here with formatting, but the only thing different here is you've got different years. Can you see that? You've got 2020, 2019. Notice they want you to use formulas there for the adding. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, and that's why I said, please don't just copy paste the totals. Use the data, but show calculations for totals.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so that covers that bit. Ratio analysis. Now we're getting into the second part of your assignment. Okay, so the next part here, question 2. Here you're getting lots of marks. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, the bulk of the marks here are for ratios, right? Liquidity, efficiency, leverage. Okay, so let's do the liquidity ratios for Pick n Pay. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my spreadsheet. Notice I'm going to create a separate sheet. I'm going to call this ratios. Okay, you could have a separate sheet for all the ratios. It's up to you. You could have one sheet for liquidity, one sheet for profitability, one sheet for this one. Like, it's up to you. You can decide how you want to structure it. I'm just going to put one sheet because I'm not going to do that many. I'm just going to do some just to show you what to do. Okay, and then I'll put a heading here, ratios. I'll put a heading here, liquidity ratios. Okay, all right. And then I'm going to go use the textbook. Okay, remember the textbook gives you the formula. I don't know if UNISA has given you that. Let me just check here. Okay, looks like they do want you to refer to the textbook. They've given you like DuPont, but just as an example here, I don't think they've listed the ratios, have they? Yeah, they haven't. All right, that's the end. Okay, so you are going to have to use the textbook, or if you want to, you can use those slides that you've seen before, where you have a set of liquidity ratios. Right, you've covered this before. I assume you've covered FIN3704. I know you've done some of the third year FIN modules because I remember helping you with them. But this is the very, very first financial management module, and then they talk about ratios in that module.
Yes.
Okay, so that should kind of jog your memory. But if it doesn't, you've got the textbook. Just go use the textbook. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel here. I'm just going to use the content that the actual module is requiring me to use. Okay, so I'm in the textbook. I've just got this open separately. I'm just looking for my ratio. Okay, here we go. It starts in chapter 3, financial statement analysis. Okay, you need to find the current ratio, which is on page 71. Okay, all right, page 71. In the textbook. Okay, this is an assignment, I assume. So where's that brief?
Yes.
Okay, is there any note here about referencing? Okay, I would rather be safe than sorry. Maybe just reference it somehow in terms of Harvard referencing. Again, because this is an academic institution, if you're using referencing, so maybe include Harvard referencing for the textbook. Okay, and then just put a little note here. Okay, in-text reference. Okay, because it's an assignment, you can really like spend time doing things like this just to really like impress them. Maybe what I would do is like just put a little Harvard referencing note here, put an in-text reference to the page number, and then write the formula down. So quick ratio, and this comes straight out of the textbook. Quick ratio and current. Let's do current first. That's the one. That's the first one. Let me move this down. Okay, so current ratio equals, this is current assets divided by current liabilities. Okay, and then you would do the same thing with the quick ratio. Just bring in your inventory. So quick ratio is equal to, open brackets, current assets less inventory, close brackets, over current liabilities. And then just check that in the textbook. Is it the same? Yes, it's the same. Okay, and yeah, you could use that. Okay, or if you want to be fancy, you can actually insert a formula, but that requires a little bit more time and effort. We don't want to insert, where is it? There, formulas. Oh, no, this is inserting an actual formula. Oh, here. No, that's the sum. Yeah, this is an actual function. All right, looks like you're going to have to show this in Word. Okay, let me show this to you in Word.
Okay.
Okay, if I open up Word, Word has a formula function. Okay, so in Word, you can create a formula. Let me show you here. Insert equation. There's it there. Okay, if I click this equation, it's going to open up some options for me. Okay, and I can choose the equation that I want to insert. Okay, so let me see. I want a fraction. Where's the fraction button here? Okay, and I want it to look like this. Insert on page. Okay. Oh, it looks like I didn't edit it. Let me edit it first. Let me delete it. Okay, let me do this again. Current ratio equals. Okay, let's go. Structure. All right. Oh, the color coding. I don't think this dark mode is working so well, yeah? Okay. There we go. Stacked. I can't see it right. Let me change it from, where do I change it here now? How do I get back to my normal light mode? Okay, let's just try do it with the dark mode. Okay, so structure, we want this, we want that, and then on this top bit, I'm going to put current assets. And in the bottom, I'm going to put current liabilities. Okay, it looks a bit better after I've typed it. At least I can see what's happening now. Okay, current ratio equals. Okay, can you see what I've done there?
Yes.
Okay, and then I just say insert on screen. Okay. And there we go. There's it there, nice and pretty.
Yes, okay.
Okay, so you can take that, you can copy this. And I can paste it, or I can copy it. That's insert on the page. Yeah, it's fine. Let me copy it, and then I can go back to my spreadsheet, and I can paste it. Oh, that didn't work. It needs to be an image, an object. Okay. Copy, copy, copy. Paste objects. Oh, values. I can't paste as an object. Okay, if you can't do that, then maybe just take a nice little snippet of it. Well, let me see if I can copy it from here. Does it give me the option to copy? No. Okay, so let me take a little snippet. And I would snip that little bit there. And I would paste it in there. Paste. Right, and then it came up nicely. Okay. So yeah, you can decide how you want to structure it and incorporate some formatting, but as long as you've got the ratio, then we can show the working. So we've got the current ratio. Okay, obviously it's going to equal your current assets. Okay, divided by your current liabilities. All right, so in order to show that, okay, I need to go use my balance sheets. Okay, I'm going to go to my balance sheet, equals, so current ratio equals, go to the balance sheets. Okay, take my current assets. This is the amount. Okay, yes. And divide by. Okay, I'm going to have to put it in here. So I'm going to reference this cell. Enter. Let's go back there. What cell did I reference? Okay, we don't have current. I reference F24. Okay, so F24. Okay, remember we would have created this whole financial statement. So we would have had an amount here, whatever the amount is. Let's just say it's, I don't know, 8,750. Okay, as our current assets, and that would have been created in our statement of financial position based on our input data. Are you following?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so once you've done that, then here in the ratio, I am just going to reference those figures. Okay, so we have an answer. Why? Because it's referencing my balance sheet, F12, which is my current assets, divided by F24 in the balance sheet, which is my current liabilities. And my current ratio is 1.727. Okay, what you could do is then round this figure off. Okay, try use more of these Excel functions to impress them. Okay, if you click this amount, you can round it off. So you can say round, okay, you can round it up, you can round it down, it's up to you. Okay, or you can round it to a desirable multiple, it's up to you. Okay, or you can round it off to a specific number of digits. All right, so let's round it off to a specific number of digits. Okay, what number do I want to round off? This number. Okay, and how many digits do I want to round it off to? Do I want to round it off to 1 digit, 2 digits, 3 digits, 4 digits? Okay, you tell me, how many digits do you want to round it off to?
Maybe 2.
2 digits. Okay, close brackets. I think there should have been a semicolon, not a colon. Yeah, that's better. That's working. Okay, just be careful. Yeah, semicolon is right. Enter. There we go. Now it's rounded off to 2 digits. You see that?
Yes.
Okay, but you see, this is just some fancy stuff that you could incorporate. Yeah. There's the round function. See, there's the calculation using my formulas, my input data, my spreadsheets. This is my actual rounding function that's built in Microsoft Excel that can help me do a calculation. Okay, so just try use as many Microsoft things as possible, okay, when doing these various calculations.
Okay.
Okay, all right, and we do the quick ratio, same thing. Copy paste, copy paste. Okay, if you want to show the actual amounts here, okay, that's a little bit tricky because you need to reference the figures straight from the actual data. So what you could do is maybe show this, okay, quick ratio calculation, just giving you some ideas, okay?
Okay.
Current assets, inventory, liabilities, and just show the inputs. So from the balance sheet, on the balance sheet, I have my current assets. On my inventory, on the balance sheet, I have my inventory and my current liabilities from the balance sheet, my current liabilities. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm just kind of referencing what I have there. Then I can show the calculation.
Okay.
And then just put in, okay, what am I doing here? Notice I need a bracket. Brackets, current assets, less, inventory, close brackets, divide, current liabilities, enter. Okay, there's my quick ratio. And then I can put that in and I can do the same thing. I can round here. Okay, choose that option. I want to round it off. What number? This number. And I want to round it off to a semicolon. Maybe let's do 3 decimals for this one. Okay, enter. Right, and then we've rounded off there.
Okay, cool.
All right, but remember, all of these ratios are going to be referenced from the statements. Remember, in accounting, you do the statements first, then you do the ratio analysis. Remember that?
Yes.
Okay, so it's all a process. Input data, get the data from that website. Then draw up the statement that you need, and then create the separate tabs for the different ratio calculations.
Okay.
Is that all right?
So now I know like how to go about like approaching it step by step.
Yeah, you're basically building an Excel spreadsheet or sheets that point to the actual data that they've provided you in terms of this outsurance thing. Where was it here? Okay, that's going to be covering all of these different formulas.
Yes,
Okay, and you're referencing everything and you're highlighting what you're actually doing in terms of the calculation. But remember, some of these ratios have numerators, denominators, so you're going to use a function. You're going to build a function.
Yes.
Okay, right, efficiency, liquidity, leverage. I think I had all of them here in the, but as I said, Rob, maybe don't use this, rather use the textbook, okay? Okay, so let's go back. Okay, let me move this side. And then we can write down the ratios. Okay, so liquidity, you've got current. What else does the textbook have? Do they suggest any others? I don't think they will. Yeah, they don't. Okay, so that's it. All right, so these are your liquidity ratios. Next category is efficiency. Oh, capitals. All right, in your textbook, make sure you cover the inventory, turnover ratio. Okay, that's the one. You've got your accounts receivable turnover ratio. You've got your average collection period. Fixed asset turnover ratio. Total asset turnover ratio is a lot here. And then you've got leverage. They want leverage? Yes, they want leverage. Okay, I don't know how they're going to mark this because I see it's 3 times 2, but in the textbook, you've actually got 2, 4, 5 of them. So yeah, I would just be as complete as possible because we don't know where Eunice is giving marks, hey? But be careful, hey? Look at this. You need to do 2 years, hey? So you need to have 2022 yes. And you need to have 2023. Okay, so that means in your input data, you definitely need 2023 and 2022. Okay, obviously yes. For OutSurance, but yeah, make sure that in your data, you get the right amount of data inputs in order to do these workings here.
Okay.
Okay, because they want you to show 2022 and 2023. Okay, so you're actually going to need the 2023 report, not the 2022, because 2022 is old. You need the new one as well if it's 2023. I don't know, has OutSurance released their financials for 2023? They should have, but sometimes it's delayed depending on their financial year. So let's just search that and see that OutSurance annual report, is the 2023 available?
I'm not sure.
OutSurance 2023. Looks like it. Yes. Yeah, 2022 June to 2023. Yeah, September 2023. Oh, this looks good. Okay, and then let's go 2022. Here's the 2022. This would have been 2021 to 2022. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, this is the group integrated annual report. Yeah, the year's 2023, 30 June 2023. And this one should be coming up soon. Yeah, this is 2022. Okay, yes. Yeah, these two are the ones that you need. So let's copy link address. I can even email it to you. I've downloaded them already. Yeah, I'll send it to you. It's fine.
Thank you.
Okay, because it's there. There's the 2023, June 2023, and this one should be June 2022. Where's the date? Where did they write the date here on the front? Looks like they didn't. Let's just scroll down. Let's go to one of the statements. Here, yeah, 31st June 2022. Okay, it's yes. Correct. Yeah, so these are the two. So based on, let's go back to, okay, so yeah, they've given you Yahoo Finance. You can go to any good source of information. I like to go to the actual company's website. So if I'm looking at OutSurance, all public companies have their own investor portal where you can download these financial statements. So because it's OutSurance, get the information from OutSurance. Maybe also when you submit your submission, I would also, if you can, these are probably massive files. I don't know how big these files are. I haven't saved them yet, but they are normally quite big, probably about 10 or 20 megs, depending on the size. But yeah, I would definitely add these as annexure or additional information to your actual submission. Okay, because remember, you need to provide them with the proof in terms of where you got the numbers from. So then they can't question your workings, because your workings are correct in line with the data that you have sourced.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, just be careful with that, because sometimes UNISA can be a little bit, let's just say finicky with things like that. So yeah, you don't want to have a situation where you're not going to get marked correctly because of the incorrect information. I don't know why they want you to find such outdated reports if they want you to do 2022 and 2023. Okay, yeah, the instructions are a bit weird here because you don't need the old reports. Everything here relates to the last 2 years. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay, let's go back to ratios. So we've covered the efficiency ratios. Let's look at leverage now. Okay, so for leverage, you need to cover, again, use the textbook always. The textbook can never be disputed in terms of its focus. All right, so leverage starts where? Let me find the page. Here, page 77. Okay, and you've got total debt ratio. You've got long-term debt ratio. You've got long-term capital to total capitalization ratio. Right, some of these ratios you might not understand. This one I don't think you'll understand because you might not have done enough market analysis. So this one I think you could possibly leave out. Okay, but again, it depends on UNISA's notes. Did they mention here? Oh, they just said go to your textbook, page 76. Okay, yeah, so then maybe you can cover it. But yeah, I don't know if you'll be able to work this out because you need to really look at the financial statements. You need to find the long-term debt. Okay, long-term debt is easy to find. That's the non-current debt, non-current liabilities. Okay, but the preferred equity and the common equity, the capitalization, you might struggle with that. So I would maybe use the textbook as a guide, okay, and see what OutSurance has.
Okay.
And then if you can link it to the textbook, then I would suggest doing the calculation. Right, this was out of how many marks? This was out of leverage was out of 3. 3 times 2 is 6. How many other ratios do you have? Let's see. You've got the debt to equity. Yeah, there's a lot of other ratios. So I don't think if you leave this one out, it'll be too much of an issue because you've got these others. These others are important. This is a very popular one. Total debt ratio, debt to equity, a very popular ratio. You probably remember some of these from financial management. And then long-term debt to equity, also quite a nice one, quite a simple one to calculate. And then that takes it to the end. And then you've got coverage ratios. Yeah, coverage is actually separate from liquidity, efficiency, and leverage. According to the textbook, they've kept it separate. All right, with leverage, rather stick to these that they've given you in the textbook. So even if you leave this one out, you've still got 1, 2, 3, you've still got 4 to calculate. So yeah, there should be more than enough to give you 6 out of 6. If you do want to do this one, then just be careful. Look at what OutSurance has to make sure that you can actually do the calculation. If you can't do the calculation, then maybe just state not enough detailed information or something like that. But you should be able to sift through the information and get what you need. Okay, liquidity, efficiency, leverage, the last one, profitability. They said only do the DuPont analysis. I've got a nice slide about DuPont. DuPont talks about the 3 different here. Okay, there, return on equity, net profit margin, total asset turnover, financial leverage multiplier. Right, that's DuPont. DuPont breaks up return on equity into these 3 key considerations. Okay, the what I have in red here, okay, net profit margin times total asset turnover, all right, is actually your return on assets. Right, because if I write down the formula, I can cancel my sales with my sales, and then I've got this numerator divided by that denominator. And if I cancel those two equations out, I actually get my return on assets. So return on equity is equal to your return on assets, which is the red, okay, multiplied by your financial leverage. If you expand your return on assets, then you get the net profit margin and the total asset turnover. Okay, there is more information in your textbook about this. Let's find the page reference. Okay, here's
I
it here.
think we covered this a lot.
Page 85.
With the last financial module.
Yes. Okay, so you should be quite comfortable with this, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm not going to touch too much on it. Just to put the heading here then. Profitability, UNISA says, only do DuPont. So that's nice and specific.
Yeah.
So you have to worry about profit margins or anything like that. You will need to show. I would do all three. I would do net profit margin. Okay, I would do total asset turnover. I would do your financial leverage multiplier. All right, for these two. Okay. Return on assets is the NPM times the TAT. Okay, I would also show the return on assets. I think it's worthwhile. And then at the end, do your ROE equals the net profit margin times the total asset turnover times the financial leverage multiplier. Yeah, so when you're doing profitability, I would cover them all independently, show them all separately, and then show them all as one. I think that'll be ideal from a submission point of view. Okay. All right, and then the last question says, write a one-page report on your analysis of the performance of the company, briefly highlight challenges and opportunities. Okay, notice here, this is 12 marks. This is your interpretation of the results, okay, based on your analysis of, you'll be analyzing OUTsurance, so based on OUTsurance, okay. Because this is 12 marks, NBR, I'm going to encourage you to do research.
Okay.
Try do some research here and try bring in some references. Okay, all academic institutions like references, right? So definitely give the obvious answers. So obviously, if you're talking about performance of the company, I would look at liquidity. Okay, so go back to liquidity. Okay, obviously this ratio is greater than 1, so good liquidity. Okay, this is your financial analysis from your other modules. Remember that.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Obviously this is less than 1, so this would be poor liquidity. Too heavily dependent on inventory, which is affecting liquidity. Okay, because if I take inventory out, my quick ratio is less than 1, not more than 1. Right, so this business is too heavily dependent on inventory. So just some tips. If you're answering a question like this, because it's out of 12 marks, I would give those common, like straightforward answers. Look at what you've calculated for your company, so for OUTsurance, look at what you've calculated for all the ratios, and then comment about each ratio separately. I would do that for all of them. Okay, just like a broad little snapshot. Liquidity, talk about it. Good, bad, stuff like that. Efficiency, same thing. Good, bad, and then your observations. Leverage, good, bad, observations, and then same with profitability. And then afterwards, give like a summary, and then maybe add something else in terms of research. Maybe read the reports. Okay, these reports that I will send you, the ones that we just found here. All right, in the report here, for example, let's take 2023 as the most recent. I'll press Control F to find, and then I'll type something. Let's type liquidity. Let's press enter. Okay, let me just make this bigger so you can see it. Okay. All right, here's a little note about liquidity. Let's continue. We've got 3. Here, balance sheet and capital, appropriate level of capital protection, liquidity. There's not much there that we can use. Next one. There's a little note about liquidity. Okay, there's not much analysis here, it looks like, in this financial statements. Let's try profitability. Okay, in terms of performance. Okay, here we've got more options. Here we've got one of 24 search queries. So here, profitability, OUTsurance business achieved monthly profitability in line with its guidance. Okay, there's nothing there that we can use. Nothing there. Okay, here it's highlighting that. Keep going. Keep going. Okay, this is quite good. All right, this is something from the Chief Executive Officer. He spoke about the different strategy and the inflation outlook and so on. So here, in my previous update, I noted the need for pricing discipline as we stepped into a high inflationary cycle and the strategy to steer growth segments to profitability by focusing on margin instead of premium. Okay, so margins. In other words, they want to make more on their customers rather than their premium growth. In other words, they're trying to cut costs more, cutting costs, managing costs, so their margins will improve instead of premium growth. In other words, not having to always go and find more customers to pay a premium. So basically their strategy, right? So their strategy internally in terms of profitability. This is something you could maybe like state. You could say in your report, based on the CEO's review of 2023, he is quoted, and I would literally copy paste this in inverted commas, and I'll reference this according to Harvard referencing, and then I will add my own 2 cents afterwards to explain it in the context of my calculations. Okay, it's not a lot, it's just a little bit, but academic institutions like that. When you do research and you take things from actual real world like sources of information and you reference it nicely and you link it to something that you've spoken about. Let's see here. Here's another note about profitability. Okay, this one doesn't say too much. Let's find another one. Okay, here's something. Full year profitability. No, also nothing really. Nothing really there, nothing there. Ooh, here, maybe this one. Claims ratio. Yeah. Okay, claims ratio, which is the key driver of profitability for the for the OUTsurance. Okay, this looks like the home loan claims. This is probably for property or house insurance, or not house insurance, home insurance. Okay, so when you're looking at that, maybe you could talk about claims ratio. You could link it somehow, perhaps. I'm just giving you some ideas here. Maybe this one. What is here? OUTsurance broker. Okay, no, nothing there. OUTsurance brokers. Okay, talking a lot about the brokers. OUTsurance business. Maybe business. Maybe, yeah, you could maybe talk about how the business was affected, either positively or negatively. Here they said the operating loss reducing from 322 million to 100. That's a massive improvement. Okay, maybe that's something nice to discuss. Okay, there's a 4 times improvement in operating profit. Wow, that's amazing. See, their strategy works. They're cutting costs. They're improving their margins. That's quite a nice thing that you could maybe comment on. They're becoming a lot more, what's the word, efficient or effective in terms of managing costs, reducing costs. Their operating loss reduced. That's very good. So their profitability has probably increased and they've managed their cost in line with their budget perhaps. Okay, yeah, so these are just things that you could maybe throw into your assignment just to try get some like bonus points in terms of impression and effort. Yeah, this is a big one, 12 marks. Right, 12 marks is almost half of the assignment just for the analysis, the report. Yes. Okay, all right, let's quickly go to the study guide and see if I've missed anything. DuPont we spoke about. Okay, that's the end of 2. Okay, there wasn't much in the assignment in terms of a cash budget. Just to complete this part of your learning unit, a cash budget can also be built on Excel. Okay, if you're looking at Excel, it's a cash budget, right? So you could look at the number of months. So for example, January, February, March, April. Okay, all right, all the way through to December. Okay, so if you're looking at a budget, This is actually something we spoke about in FIN3704. I don't know if you remember that, eh? Did they test you on the budget in your exam, your final exam?
Yes, they did.
Ah, they did. Okay, and then they gave you like months or something, and then you had to project and you had to collect the sales and things like that, hey?
Yes.
Ah, so then you're quite
familiar with this. I think you saw
my
paper, my answering paper. I sent it to you.
Yeah. Okay. What happened with that? Did they come back to you with some feedback or what? Or are you still waiting?
No, I'm still waiting.
Still waiting. Wow. Okay. Hopefully you get some good feedback. But yeah, if you're happy with the budget, then I'm just going to talk to the actual Excel like formatting here. So obviously in any budget, because this is a cash budget, you're going to have your cash receipts, and then because it's a cash budget, you'll have your disbursements.
Yes.
Okay, and then obviously you want to see movements in cash. Okay, this is just a very, very simplified version of a budget. Obviously, it can be a bit more sophisticated where you could break it up into different sections, but ultimately, in a budget, you're looking at receipts, you're looking at payments or disbursements. Let me write the word payments there. Okay, and then you want to see movements in cash. So you'll have an opening balance, you'll have the net cash flow movements, and then you'll have your closing balance. Okay, so same thing applies here. In a budget, whenever you have a budget, okay, you want to see things getting updated. So obviously January as 1 month, January, would you agree, will affect Feb, yes?
Yes.
Okay, depending on what January looks like, okay, let's assume the receipts are 4,000. Let's assume the payments are 3,000. Let's assume we started with 0. Okay, obviously the net movement, okay, I should add an extra line here just to separate it a bit. Okay, this is obviously going to be the 4. Okay, I'm going to add the 3 because I'm going to make the 3 a negative. Right, gives me +1. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
And I could obviously make that as a currency figure. Let's make it that one again. Okay, just to show the nice numbers. Right. Obviously, if I start with 0, the net cash flow, I'm going to reference this. There's the cash flow. I'm going to reference that. My closing balance, I'm going to reference 0 plus the movement. Okay, this opening balance is the previous one. I'm going to reference that. Okay, and then you would do the same thing for the next month. Let's assume it's too big. Let's make it smaller. All right, just to make it a bit more realistic, let's make this 4. Okay, -4. And let's just change the formatting again quick. All right, so you have something like that. So obviously cash receipts, cash payments. All right, our opening balance, this balance, remember, comes from this month. Okay, yes. This is going to be referenced there, and then your closing balance will be this plus that, and it'll automatically add as you go. So remember, I've done the calculation here. I can copy paste the formula, right? 6 minus 4 is 2, and then 2 plus 1 is 3, and then you'll continue doing it month after month. Does it make sense?
Yes.
All right, so I can copy paste the formatting, and then I can have another month with all the formulas. Copy all the formulas. Okay, all right, in my cash budget, how much should I make in the next month? Maybe a bit more. Okay, how much should I pay? Maybe I paid a bit more, and then that's what happens. Okay, or let's assume it's actually worse then. Let's assume I paid a lot more. Let's say it was a bad month. Expenses were too high. Okay, this was negative. All right, and then see how everything updates.
Yes.
All right, and it'll automatically track it as it goes. All right, so in this section, in Learning Unit 3, all right, the outcomes are quite specific. They want you to learn how you can demonstrate a knowledge and a working knowledge and understanding of a budget and how you can build something like this in Excel. Okay, so again, they spoke about the work area. Okay, there's the word disbursements. Okay, expected disbursements, meaning what you are going to pay. In other words, remember a budget. I'm sure you could probably even answer this question based on your knowledge from before. Is a budget looking at the past, present, or the future?
The future.
Correct. Okay, this is what we think is going to happen over the next quarter, right? And then we could budget for the entire year. And this whole budget could get built into or linked to financial statements.
Okay.
It's very powerful. You can do a lot with Excel in terms of basic, what's the word, financial management. Okay, keeping track of expenses, income, and so on. Okay, so that's a little note there. There they spoke about the balances, hey? Oh, a note about borrowing. When do we borrow? When do we borrow? Short. When do we borrow?
When we need.
Correct. Funds. Okay, so here, possible borrowing. All right, obviously this business would land up in cash flow problems, eh?
Yeah.
Okay, they don't have sufficient cash, so their closing balance would be negative unless they have a bank overdraft, right, or other funding, short-term funding. They are not going to be able to survive or operate. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay, and you can also build that into your budget as well in terms of when would you potentially need to possibly seek short-term financing, right? And there are different strategies around that. You've learned about that in FIN3702, 3701, permanent versus seasonal funding, and whether you go with an aggressive or a conservative strategy. Remember that?
Yes.
Okay. All right, awesome. Then I think we've covered most of it. Let's just see here. Work area. Yeah, we've spoken a lot about these functions. Oh, maybe just a function about the dates. You can actually put dates in Excel as well. I don't know if you're aware of that. Okay, you can change here. You can put in dates, short date, long date. You can even put the time as well. You can change the formatting for a budget. So a budget can actually be very, 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 very specific. Technically, because Excel is so powerful, you could literally build a budget for every single day. You could track your expenses as a business daily. And then that one spreadsheet for the day could filter through to a week, that could filter through to a month. And you could track everything like meticulously if you had the time and the effort to build a budget like that, where you could actually put the date, like every single day, what are we spending money on, what are we using money on, etc. And we could build a massive spreadsheet.
Okay.
You could do the same thing for manufacturing, okay, where there are payments to suppliers for materials, or you're buying and selling goods. Anything can be captured in a spreadsheet. And if we're looking specifically at cash, we're wanting to look at the receipts and the payments. Okay, money in, money out. Okay, this is quite straightforward. They're asking you to look at the example in the textbook, looking at what we looked at here, similar, opening, closing balances. And there's an activity. Oh, scenario, what if? Okay, what is this? What is this referring to? Do you know?
No.
Okay, what if means, let's assume the petrol price goes up, or let's say Eskom, they're going to increase electricity by another 20% this year. That's a what if scenario. Do you agree?
Yes.
Okay, we don't know exactly what it's going to be, but it could be, I don't know, 10%, 20%, 15%. It's a what if scenario. Okay, so when you have a budget, for example, let me just move this back. Okay, sheet 1, this was budget 1. And let's assume budget 1 was, inverted commas, accurate. When I say accurate, okay, in the now, in the current situation now. So now, based on our budget, this is what things look like. What I could do is I could duplicate the sheet and I could have budget 2, and this could have been a what if.
Okay.
Okay, not now, but let's say inflation. I don't know, let's make it 10%, let's make it bad. Okay, inflation. All right, so this is the budget now, this is the budget what if. So if the budget, this one, what if, let's just change the color. Okay, and this is the now. Okay, so let's make the now dark purple, and then the budget what if inflation. If the disbursements, obviously we would have a lot more. We would have expenses here. Okay, expense A, B, C, D, E, F, G, whatever. Oops. Shift Control up. Okay, all right, there you go. And let's just say fuel is one of those, or water, or electricity. Okay, those could be two line items that you could potentially, okay, a what if scenario. Okay, then what you could do is you could say, let me go to my original budget. Let me just highlight this and let me just paste this here. Oh, which one was I using? Oh, I was using the now. Okay, so let's just say this was, I don't know, 1,000, 2,000, or 20,000. Let's just make it small numbers. Okay, something like that. Okay, this was the budget now. If I'm looking at a budget what if, because this is your what if analysis, or you have a scenario, okay, you could add certain scenarios into the budget to help you adjust for these different, let's call them changes. Okay, I see here they're actually using the scenario manager, which is actually quite interesting. They want you to consider that. That's actually quite nice. Maybe use the textbook example for this, because I see here, create a scenario value, okay, change values for each of the changing cells, right? So a scenario value box. So in other words, we don't have two separate sheets, we just have one sheet, but we have multiple values. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so let me see here in the textbook on page, what is it, 126 they said in the textbook, study guide. Let's see, page 129, a little bit further back, 126. Yeah, on page 126, the cash budget, the watch window, the evaluate formula box, we're looking for scenarios. Okay, there's the Meiji. They've shown you a budget. They've shown you the different line items. You can include borrowing as well. That's quite a nice one. There's a nice example here on page 130. I like that spreadsheet, cash balance after changing the maximum cash to 15,000, and they show the borrowing there. See, current borrowing, current investing. That's quite a nice one there. Okay, let's just see here. Oh, and then that's a summary. Looks like they haven't shown you the actual. Interesting. Okay, so let's just have a look here. Okay, so I'm going to go back to, let's go to this one, the what if. Okay, let's search here, scenario. Manage rules. Conditional formatting. Okay. Okay, this is not going to do much in terms of the value. It's just going to change the number, or not the number, the formatting of that number that's there. Okay, I'm just thinking now. Drop down menu. Let me think. That's for Excel. Let me just see here. Drop down menu for scenarios in Excel to insert values. Okay, so we need to select the cell. Okay, create the drop-down list. Okay, let's find the insert. We need to look at a drop-down list. Data. Let me make this bigger. Let's see here. Where is that function? It's in data. Okay, data. All right, and we're looking at data validation. Okay, settings, allow any value. No, we can allow custom. No, we're not going to put an input message or an error message. Okay, so let's say we can put a whole number, and let's say the data is between, let's say a minimum, what minimum value? Let's make it like, I don't know, let's make it 1,000, and let's say the maximum value would be, let's say 10,000. Okay, ignore blank. Yeah, that's fine. They can ignore blank. Error alerts, show alerts. Let's just say must be between 1,000 to 10,000. Okay. All right. Input message. We can copy paste the same thing there even. Why not? And then we can apply there. All right. So when I'm typing in fuel, look, if I put in 500, enter. Okay. Look what happens. See that?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So if I'm budgeting, what if scenarios, what if? So what if I put 5,000? That's fine. See, it allows it. But if I put 20,000, okay, it doesn't allow it. So like a what if function is, it's almost like a checklist. So for example, when you create a budget, okay, obviously fuel should never ever be like 0. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So if you're budgeting, you should never ever have a fuel expense at 0. It's probably always going to be something. But in the budget, you could also say, well, whoever is inserting values into my budget, they mustn't budget for maybe more than 10,000 Rand on fuel. Right. If anybody is budgeting for more than 10,000 Rand on fuel, that's bad, because then we're going to completely break the bank and we're going to run out of money for this business, and we don't want that to happen. So then you could manage it. So if it's 10,000, you could say it must be less than that. It must be between 1,000 and 10,000, or 0 and 1,000 and 10,000. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, so I see that was quite an interesting thing that they mentioned here with the scenario manager. Okay, I see this might have been a bit older, because when I searched for this on Excel, I see I did get options for different scenarios, but it created this drop-down list with this data validation option. So you can actually edit what you're actually inserting. I see here you could even look at a list or a criteria. Maybe this is not bad to share with you. This is from the website. Okay, let me show you this. Let me bring it across. Okay, all right. You can find anything you want to know about Excel on the internet. So this is the drop-down list that I searched for, and then I found here the data validation, and then I could see how to create this drop-down list. You could even add additional validation to the data. You could even create, I see there's a few other things here. Let me find it here. I saw it here just now. Here, see, there, settings, input error, you can create a list. All right, so instead of choosing like a range, you can choose a list of values, but then you need to select that list. Okay, see here. All right, base, upside, downside. Look, let me show you. Okay, look. Okay, let me go back. Let me do it here quick, just to demonstrate what we've seen. Okay, let's do a list here. Data, validation. Okay, I want a list. Okay, I'm going to insert my values here. So we can even put them in the cells. Oh, there's no cell list. Okay, we can actually do it on a separate page. Let's do it on a separate page. Oh, I can't create a separate page now. All right, let's just say 2,000. 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. Okay, let's do that. Ignore blank, that's fine. In cell drop down, that's fine. Apply. Okay, look at this. Okay, in this cell, February, in that cell, have a look. I click the drop down and I can pick. See? Choose 4,000. Do you see that?
Yes.
Or I can click and I can pick 5,000. Or I can click and I can pick 2,000, whatever it is. But remember, it's managed. It's not like I can't insert an amount here. I've got to select it. You see that?
Yes.
So it avoids problems with budgeting, because remember, this budget could filter through to an income statement or a balance sheet or a cash flow statement, and you don't want like other amounts here or numbers or letters or whatever. You want people to put in an amount. And if it's a budget, remember, it doesn't have to be an accurate amount. It can be an estimate. Is that right? Still with me? Ooh, I've lost audio. Are you still there, Prosha? I can't hear you. I can see you talking. I see there's a little ring around your name.
Sorry, I lost you there for a few seconds.
Oh, okay. Looks like we both had a problem there with the connection. Yeah, maybe Teams, something wrong with the, yeah, I know there was a massive like cable thing that happened this week. I don't know if you're also affected. Sure. Microsoft services weren't working for most businesses during that time. All right. Okay, let me just check the rest here. I think we've covered that, yeah. Scenario values, adding interest, and okay, this interest, you know, you can calculate that separately, hey? Interest, do you know you can calculate that based on your loan? So for example, let's say if I had a rate, let's say the rate was 10%. Okay, but this was in a separate spreadsheet, and my balance sheet, let's assume under liabilities, I had a loan. I could calculate the rate, all right, in terms of interest to calculate the actual amount, maybe. So I could take the principal. You can actually calculate interest. Let me just see if I can find the right formula. There are financial calculations that you can use here. There, see, accrued interest. Let me find another one here. Compound, no, that's not compound interest. That's cumulative interest. Here, returns the cumulative interest. See, there are other ones. Let me see, let's see if we can find another. There, interest rate, returns the interest rate for invested security. See, there's IRR. See, IRR, net present value. You can do all these things. Here, here's NPV, see?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so Excel is very powerful. I don't think you'll need that at this stage, looking at your assignment, but I'm just highlighting some of these different inbuilt functions that you can use to calculate interest and so on. Okay.
Okay.
All right, I think we're almost at the end. Yeah, they've given you some notes here just regarding if functions. If you do want to know more about this, we can cover it next time if you want me to just describe it in a bit more detail. We probably will have a bit more time next week and the week after because of the, well, when I say next week, not next week, the next time you booked. Yeah, I know you saved it for April, which is fine. Then it gives you more time to go through content. Yeah, so if there's anything that you've looked at that you can't do, that you want me to explain, please bring it to one of our later sessions. I really don't mind going through anything that you're struggling with, anything Excel related that you want me to explain, show you, demonstrate, whatever. Let me know. We'll have a bit more time in those two because there aren't as many units. We're just going to be looking at 2 units in each of those other sessions. Okay. So we've come to the end of that one. Topic 3 complete. Right. Any questions? Anything that you want me to answer before we wrap up?
Not really. I think it was very useful, this session. It helped me understand, like, especially with my assignment, how to approach it, because I was a bit confused as to what was required.
Yeah. From my perspective, yeah, looking at what they've asked you to do, they're giving you all the data. You just need to go insert it. But I think, remember, this is focused on your Excel skills. So they want to see your document and they want to see your ability to use the platform. So try use the different tabs, try use the different formatting, try use the different formulas. I think if you can use more of that, I think it'll help you in terms of getting good marks.
Okay.
I think that's kind of what they're expecting.
Yeah, practice as well with Excel, just going through it, doing.
No, you can play around with it. It's quite a nice tool, especially if you're looking at number-related things. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So I think it was quite a good session. Awesome. I have a good understanding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Well, what I'll do is I'll save the recording. I'll upload it and give you access. And then this spreadsheet that I was using here, I will export it to my PC, save a copy of it, and then I'll just email you this and then those 2 files that we found, the OutSurance files. Okay.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much.
Awesome. You're welcome. Thanks, Parosha. Then I'll see you in April.
Yes, that's
okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
In April. Thank you very much,
You're
Anthony.
welcome. Take care. Okay. Bye, Parosha.
Bye.